Welcome back to Baby Takes. It's been such a long time, it feels like, since we've seen you last. There's just been not a lot to really report on since the spring game. Nothing has really happened up until the draft, which happened last weekend. 3 Huskers were selected, and I think 5 have signed undrafted free agents so far. We'll get into that. Also, we got 2 new transfers in. Huge transfers. So excited for them. But before we start, Zach, how you doing?
Pretty good. Just ready to get into this. I don't know when the last time we had. I know Juergens was the highest since 2011. So just shows that we had a good team this year. Didn't put out the results we wanted, but good team.
Yeah, it definitely shows that all the people who are saying like Scott Frost can't like develop talent or any of that, it proves them wrong. I don't think this is a fluke. I think Scott Frost is getting those top recruiting classes, and obviously that comes with talent. So I feel like that's a true thing. And I think it'll help with recruiting, telling them, yes, we have struggled, but we can still produce these NFL level guys. So I think that's a big thing. But yeah, speaking of the NFL draft, we'll just go down the line. So the first player drafted was Cam Juergens in the second round by the Philadelphia Eagles. He's viewed as a super upside corner. I made a video saying, or not corner, center. I made a video earlier in the year about Husker players that could get drafted. I had him in like 4th or 5th, maybe 3rd round, but he got a lot of buzz going up in the weeks of the draft. Just because of his athleticism, and teams really like that. And once he got drafted by the Eagles, Jason Kelsey, the Eagles starting center, was doing an interview, and they asked him, like, how does this make you feel? Like, they just drafted, your eventual replacement. And he was like, honestly, this is my favorite prospect in the draft. He said, he's just so athletic, reminds me a lot of myself. He said the Eagles wanted me to help them out and do some scouting on some centers. And he said that Juergens was his favorite. And that's huge coming from a all-pro center, Pro Bowl center like Jason Kelsey. So I like Cam Juergens a lot. I like him on the Eagles. I like him as a developmental prospect just because of his athleticism. I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah, I think something that not a lot of people see is 2 years ago, everyone was talking about how bad Cam Juergens was. He can't snap the ball. Every ball goes over Adrian Martinez's head. It's like, oh, Cam Juergens is, go back to Beatrice. I've even heard from some Husker football fans back home. This guy came in as a tight end out of Beatrice, Nebraska. Nothing big. And just filled his role that he knew needed to be filled. And now he's going in the second round of the NFL draft. That is huge, absolutely huge for this guy. And I can't wait to see what he does. Because if he can develop from just a prospect tight end to a NFL prospect center in college, what can he do in 3 years in the NFL?
Right, and that's why he got drafted so high, is because he's only been playing center for 3 years, and he's already made a highlight tape of his blocks. There's one highlight of him in the Oklahoma game just driving a guy like 20 yards. I mean, he's just the dude's super athletic, super likable, super good guy. And I knew that whoever got him was going to be super excited to get him. Another guy that got drafted in the second round was Taylor Britt. Since his junior year, I think we knew that this was going to happen. Dude is super talented, makes these big time plays. The knock on him was he's also kind of new to the position. A lot of people don't know that he actually came in as an athlete, mostly a quarterback, into Nebraska. Then they switched him to safety, and then they switched him to corner. So he's only been playing corner for like 2.5 years. And in that time, he's made 2 Big Ten teams, 2 all Big Ten teams. So this dude's legit. I don't know if he's going to play corner or safety at the next level. As the Bengals who drafted him look right now, I think he plays corner because they have 2 stud safeties, and they actually just drafted another safety who could also play corner in the first round. So they're just stocking up on DBs, trying to find that Eli Apple replacement probably. But no, I think Cam Taylor Britt's super, super talented, and he's also got potential because he hasn't been playing the position that long.
Yeah, I also think this guy's super talented. I like him going to Cincinnati, to a team that is actually very young and very talented, is really just at their stride, really just hit the show here. I mean, what, 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, worst team in the NFL last year, making the Super Bowl. Like, this is a team. This is a team you want to be on. This is a culture you want to be around, and these guys are going to be great. So I'm glad that he ended up where he did.
Yeah, big time for Cam Taylor Britt. The next and the last player that got drafted was Samoa Torre, which is super surprising to me. Not necessarily super surprising that he got drafted, but super surprising that he was the only other guy to get drafted. But we'll get to that later. Samoa Torre to the Packers. You started hearing these rumors that he had super good interviews. He was being brought into these interviews. Packers were one of the teams, obviously. And he's just this guy that can get open, can create separation, can just do everything at a good level. He's not going to blow you out of the water with athleticism or his body or his natural gifts, but he's going to blow you away with his hands, his instincts, and his route running ability. And he's just a guy that reminds me a lot of like a Julian Edelman type. It's a slot receiver that can just do it all for you. And I think for the Packers who are looking for receivers depth, I think he's got a chance to make an impact immediately, at least on special teams. So I really like Samoa Torre and him going to the Packers.
Yeah, something that really surprised me here is Samoa Torre is actually the first Nebraska receiver picked in the NFL draft since Kenny Bell in 2015, who was picked in the 5th round back in 2015. Transferred it from Montana. So I think that's probably one of his best moves. I think if you stay at Montana, you're probably not gonna make the NFL draft, especially the where'd he go? 3rd round?
Who, Torre?
Yeah.
No, he went in the 7th round.
7th round. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Third guy to get drafted, 7th round.
Right.
Number 258 overall, I see here. Yeah, so yeah, like you said, like he's not a Tyreek Hill, he's not a Jameson Williams, he's nothing like that, but he is a guy that works hard and can make an impact on your team, especially on the special team side of it. So yeah, I see him doing well with the Packers.
Yeah, excited to see where all these guys how they do. It's pretty likely that they'll all make the opening day roster. Maybe not Torre because of the 7th round pick. But when you get drafted, you have a significant, much higher chance to make the roster. So excited for all them. Some guys that I were disappointed and very surprised didn't get drafted. The first guy is Jojo Doman. He didn't get drafted for obvious reasons. People and teams say he was too small to play linebacker, too big to play safety, kind of just a tweener guy. And he's going to be 25 once the season starts. So they didn't see the potential in him. I still thought he was going to get drafted. I mean, he's elite in pass coverage. He's big. I think he's big enough to play linebacker. You see linebackers these days that are converted safeties. So I think Jojo Doman's plenty big enough. He might not be athletic like those safeties converting are, but he's definitely technical. I mean, he put up the best pass coverage stats or pass coverage grade in the last like 10 years or something like that in the Big Ten. So he's legit, and that's with defensive backs, and he's a linebacker. So I think Jojo Doman to the Colts is an immediate impact. I do think he makes the roster. I think he impacts on special teams immediately. And I think he gets in there on some sub packages where you want to bring 4 linebackers in and, pass coverage situations. Jojo Doman's fit perfectly for that. So I like Jojo Doman with the Colts. I wish he would have got drafted, but the good thing about not getting drafted is you get to pick where you go. So I think the Colts is a good situation for him.
Yeah, I know watching the later rounds of the draft, it was over and over again. They'd be like, next best up, Jojo Doman, Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And then no one would pick him. And then be like, we're still looking at Jojo Doman, Nebraska. No one would pick him. And so, like, the analysts believe, and we believe, that the guy should have been drafted. He's good enough to be drafted. He's got the skills to be drafted, but just wasn't. And so I think that's the only thing. He just wasn't drafted. That's the only difference between him and the guys that got drafted. He's not worse than them. He's, his skills are right there. And I do think he makes an immediate impact on the Colts. I think the Colts are a really good spot for him.
Yeah. And what's cool is the person that actually I saw the news first from was another undrafted linebacker from Nebraska. Will Compton tweeted it out that Jojo Doman was signed by the Colts. And you saw what Will Compton got to do. I mean, he had a productive career, still playing, I guess. And, 9 years into it, just played last year with the Raiders in the playoffs. So he's doing other things. He's very successful with other things, but that just shows that, being undrafted is not the end of it. And super excited for Jojo Doman. Next guy that I thought was going to get drafted purely off potential was Austin Allen. In the video that I made explaining all these Nebraska guys that might get picked, I put down Austin Allen, and a potential landing spot was the Giants, which is where he ended up signing. So pat myself on the back for that one. But Austin Allen is like a 6'8", can move. He doesn't have the straight speed that you would like, but I think he's still got potential as a red zone threat. And signing with the Giants, who are thin at the position, I think they're starting tight. I don't even know who their starting tight end is because they cut Kyle Rudolph. So I think they might have drafted one. But yeah, Austin Allen's going to have a chance to compete, maybe make the roster. I think he at least makes the practice squad. The dude's talented enough. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, Austin Allen's a guy where you don't see a lot of. He's got the build, he's got the athleticism. He does, like you said, lack on the speed a little bit, but not an insane lack of speed. I mean, he's still got it. He can catch, he can block too. And you want to put him in blocking tight end, that works as well. So yeah, just raw talent. Not a whole lot of spectacular anything, but just raw potential and raw talent out of this guy.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to the next one, a guy that I don't think should have declared, but I think he knew something that we didn't at the time, and that's Damion Daniels. I think he knew that our D-line coach was on the outs, so I think he knew it was probably time for him to move on. Didn't want to play under a different coach. He got signed by the Houston Texans. I think with another year, he could have possibly got drafted. He doesn't have that prototypical size you want out of a D tackle, but he also doesn't have the athleticism to make up for it. So he's kind of like a tweener guy. How much potential does he really have? But he was productive with Nebraska. So I think he can make some sort of impact on the Texans, who definitely need some help everywhere. So I'm excited to see if he can make the roster or just play his heart out, make the practice squad.
Yeah, like you said, barring if our coach would have stayed, this guy'd be back on the team. He'd be coming back for another year, tearing it up, probably get drafted. But it's hard to go to a new coach for your last year, and so maybe that's it for him for football. Maybe he will make the team for the Texans. Maybe he'll bounce around a little bit. There's in this day and age, there's plenty of football to be played. Everyone wants to play in the NFL, but you can play anywhere. Multiple indoor, multiple outdoor leagues. So yeah, I mean, I don't think this is it for him football wise, but it does suck that the coach left, and that's probably why he left. But yeah, I hope he makes it. I think he absolutely can, but not a guy that I would put at the top either.
Yeah. Next up, Deontay Williams got signed by the Seattle Seahawks. Deontay Williams is a super upside guy. hard hitting safety. As we saw, he got ejected numerous times. But Deontay Williams, I think his main thing is going to be special teams. I think he can make an impact on special teams. We see it with a guy who is actually a receiver, a really good receiver, record-setting receiver at Nebraska, Stanley Morgan, one of the best special team players in the league right now, being praised by his peers and his teammates. So I think Deontay Williams can have that same type of impact. He's a hard-hitting guy who loves to run down the field and hit people. So what better place than put him on the kickoff and punt team, in my opinion.
Yeah, like you said, probably won't make that impact early. Just not at that level yet. He's not going to play on their starting D or their backup D, but I can definitely see him making an impact on the special teams. And I've always been taught, if you want to get that starting spot, then do the dirty work on the special teams and look really good there. And that's where they'll pull from.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, not much to say there. Moving on to the last one, Ben Stilley. Ben Stilley was the last guy to sign. He signed with the Miami Dolphins. He's just a high-effort guy. He's a tweener. Do you put him inside? Do you put him outside? Not athletic enough to be an edge rusher. Not big enough to be an inside guy. So, I mean, you can put him in these run-stopping downs as kind of like a D-end, a 4-3 D-end, right over the edge or right over the tackle. Just that really hard-working guy. He's going to give it his all. Just lacks the athleticism, and he's older. I think he's in the same boat as Jojo Doman, probably going to be 25 when the season starts around there. So not a lot of potential maybe in Ben Stilley, but I think he works hard enough. I think he can find himself on a roster pretty easily.
Yeah. This guy, he made a good impact in Nebraska. Multiple times in the backfield, getting to the quarterback, had a lot of run stops. But like you said, not super athletic to be an edge rusher, not super big to be a middle guy. But I think there's always a place for everyone. And he can definitely find a place in there with his hard work ethic. And he does possess some skills on that D-line. So I think he can definitely find a place in the next few years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's all the guys that got drafted and got signed in free agency after the draft. Congratulations to them, and can't wait to see what they do. But moving on to some transfers that we got. So a couple days ago it was announced Ochaun Mathis, the number 1 D-end left in the transfer portal, picked Nebraska over Texas. I want to say that he picked us because we're a great football team and he loves Nebraska, but he picked us probably because of the NIL deals that he had the potential to get. Apparently he had a 6-figure NIL deal offered to him, and for some reason Texas just couldn't offer it to him, which is surprising to me. Maybe Texas football is just falling off. And then the other guy we got was Devin Drew, D tackle from Texas Tech. That was just today. He's projected to slide right in and be a starter on the D line. So what do you think of these guys?
Yeah, I just want to touch on that NIL deal thing you were talking about. So read up on this a little bit, and there was actually a ranking out of top places to go for NIL deals. And Nebraska actually got ranked number 2 in the country. The reason for that is obviously, yes, you go to USC or UCLA, and there's plenty of companies looking at you, and there's a huge market out there. But all states regulate their NIL deals based on their own laws. And states like California and Texas and, big states like that are actually regulating that pretty heavily, whereas Nebraska has very low restriction on NIL deals. And so it's pretty much free game, which is why I think he was able to pull a 6-figure NIL deal.
Yeah. And that's just the world we live in with the NIL deal. Like it or not, that's just how it is now. I think the NCAA at some point steps in to regulate a little bit, as it's pretty much just free agency at this point. I mean, that Pitt receiver getting offered $3 million to go to USC. I mean, that's just wild to me. If he gets $3 million from USC, he's getting paid more than some of these rookies that just got drafted in the NFL. So,
yeah, I mean, you're looking at like Quinn Ewers hasn't played a down of football and is getting offered millions of dollars to go places.
like, I tweeted it out today. I've always been for college players getting paid, but there's just got to be some regulations. I mean, this can't turn into the chaotic scene that we've already seen. It's just insane. You see guys switching teams just solely based on money, which I get it. You want to provide for your family. You want to build up your future the best you can, but you also, college is also still, supposed to be an education. It's not supposed to be a job. You know what I'm saying? So I thought NIL, name, image, likeness, was going to be like players getting paid for signatures or players getting paid to be on the new NCAA game, not getting paid millions of dollars just to transfer, pretty much. But yeah, so Ochaun Mathis, DN from TCU, I think he slides opposite of Garrett Nelson. So basically the way they run their defense, Nebraska, at least this is the way they did it last year. You got 2 outside linebackers, 2 defensive ends, and a nose tackle. So the way it's looking now, Garrett Nelson's going to be one of the outside linebackers. Caleb Tanner's the other outside linebacker. Mathis and Ty Robinson maybe at the ends. And then we don't know the nose tackle. Actually, probably Devin Drew from Texas Tech slides right into that nose tackle position. But I think you got Garrett Nelson off one edge. Caleb Tanner can drop in coverage some, rush the passer some. Ochaun Mathis is going to be a great pass rusher. Had 4 sacks last year. In 2020, had 9 sacks. I mean, this dude's talented. And he's huge, 6'5", 257. So he's got legit potential. And I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah. I know earlier on in the whole transfer deal, like right out of the season, we were seeing all these offensive guys come in, Casey Thompson, Trevor Purdy, the receivers, you get Dakota's Crawford, multiple, Anthony Grant, came in, and we're like, man, like this offense is looking good. And then I kind of always stayed in the back of my mind, like, but this defense, like, you got to fill some holes. Like, you got to fill that Ben Stilley hole. You got to fill that Damion Daniels hole. And so we did.
Yeah, and even the Cam Taylor Britt hole, we got Tommy Hill.
Yeah, and so now I feel like, okay, I say it every year, said every year by everyone, man, but I really think this is it. Like, we filled a complete team. We finally learned the transfer portal is where we can shine. You bring all these guys in that love the play, that are going to bring in a great culture, and you don't have to recruit this incredible class that everyone else is trying to recruit. You just bring in all these transfers. You have the NIL deals help. I think we found out what we need to do. I think this might be the year where everything puts it together. Maybe Scott Frost need to be thrown on the burner real quick. But if that's what it needs to do, then that's what will happen.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. But I mean, that's all I got for the Nebraska portion of this video. You got anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay, so make sure if you guys are watching this, tune in. We're gonna have a little short after show. It's gonna be up here somewhere, up next, whatever. We're gonna play the Weddle, which is the NFL guessing game, the Wordle. Less structured than all of this right here, even though this isn't very structured. We're just gonna, hang out for a little bit, talk, whatever, just play some games. So feel free to click wherever that is, and we'll see you over there.